Out today, Friday, August 8th, is a phenomenal new release from mandolin virtuoso Avi Avital. Called Song of the Birds, this recording features the newly formed Between Worlds Ensemble, a group Avital helped assemble and curate. The album dives deep into the folk traditions of Europe, exploring how they've shaped both cultural identity and the evolution of concert music. The ensemble brings together world class musicians fluent in both classical and folk idioms, creating a rich genre blending landscape. Together, they offer a compelling portrait of the musical influence that have long bridged these two worlds, with the mandolin being at the very heart of the ensemble. Focusing on three culturally diverse regions, southern Italy, Iberia, and the Black Sea, Avital and his ensemble weave a sonic tapestry that highlights each area's unique musical heritage. The result is both captivating and engaging, a recording that informs as much as it enchants. In short, this is a spectacular disc, one that invites you to a journey between worlds. And joining me here over Zoom, it's my great pleasure to welcome Avi Avital. Hi, Avi.
Thank you. Thank you. What an introduction. Thank you so much. I'm touched.
It's just a superb disc. And I was reading the booklet, and my understanding is the seed for the idea of this CD actually started with your studies in Padua. Can you talk about like the different things that you experienced there in regards to cuisine and
Yes, I think one of the things that I realized, before living in Italy, I moved there when I was 23 years old, and I spent my 20s in living in Italy. And I realized that before living there, I just thought of Italy as this one country, one language, Italian mentality, Italian cinema, Italian cuisine, Italian music, of course. And it was interesting for me to, throughout living there and having many journeys across the country, to realize how rich, really, and nuanced is the regional culture. How much Venice and Naples are two completely different planets. I mean, of course, when you it's when you really think, well, till you thought about it as the same country before, and almost every time you turn your wheel in Italy, it's a slightly different dialect, it's a slightly different way to make risotto, which is of course the right way in this village always, and a little the crafts are different and the musical traditions are different. It's not unique for Italy. It's also in Spain. It's also in Europe. Really, if you go across, and probably not only in Europe, you see that culture and musical cultures don't see the borders. They're influenced and they kind of evolve. These are all oral traditions. So, of course, it depends on the crossroads. And it's wonderful to trace these influences and the things that are common and the things that are diverse in all these cultures.
yeah. I mean, the project, it's been sort of been rolling out in stages. There were three EPs that were released. There was one for Italy, one for Iberia, and one for the Black Sea. What was the thinking behind rolling out the project this way?
Yes, I feel I left a lot of people confused with this multi-release. I'll explain. So this I founded this ensemble 2 years ago, and it was a concert series season practically. I had a task from the Pierre Boulez Hall in Berlin, beautiful hall in Berlin, to create three different programs across the season. Each one of them had a little tour also, with the same concept, with the same ensemble, with my ensemble, but each one of the programs would, as you mentioned, concentrate on a specific region and would explore or practice the artistic practice of Between Worlds Ensemble in focusing in this region, meaning taking traditional music from this region, classical music that was composed by composers from this region, inspired or uh, driven by their folklore, collaborating with masters. We, the ensemble, were 10 musicians. We come from classical music, but each one of them bring their own heritage, but collaborating with real masters of these folk traditions. So a flamenco singer from Spain and a South Italian folk singer and the Georgian choir that practice different vocal traditions. And we made this season, and each program was colorful and very different from each other. But of course, they had the thing in common, and our ensemble, shaped its sound throughout these programs. And we decided to record for after each one of these concert series. We stayed extra couple of days in Berlin to record, I don't know, the best 20 minutes of the program, let's say. And this is now the album that comes out. Now, in the process of editing and listening to the album and also reflecting, I realized that putting everything in one album is wonderful in one hand because it's very colorful. But also, I wanted still, at least for a little bit, to have this experience, this expression of diving into one little world at a time. So this is why we released some of the tracks as EPs, just to give a 10 to 15 minutes, 4 tracks introduction to just one of the themes, Italy, Iberia. And now the album is coming out, and it's a mixture. We didn't divide the tracks. The tracks order is not by theme. It's not an academic project, but it's really I chose the order, let's say, of the music just by the flow of it. And this is why I really wanted to have this little experience of 3 chapters, triptych that are now, you can listen to the whole album with new tracks, of course.
Where, like, are the musicians in the Between the Worlds Ensemble, are they all friends of yours? Did you just reach out to them and just say, hey, I'm putting together this ensemble?
Yes, that's the wonderful thing of having your own ensemble. I could do whatever I want. There were no compromises. I handpicked those 10 musicians. The flutist Alex Sopp comes all the way from New York. The percussionist Itamar Doari lived in Goa, India until last year. There are people that each one of them, of course, is a professional supreme chamber musician, but also all of them can improvise. They come from different cultures. Our violinist is from Greek. You hear in one of the tracks, Raiko, an incredible improvisation that he did on playing Greek music. There's nothing like him. So really, each one of them brought not only the universalism of playing classical music, but really also a piece of their heart and of their heritage into this project.
Mm-hmm. On the CD, there's a few Ladino songs. I just love them. They're unbelievable. Can you talk about those songs in the Ladino language? And can you also talk about the arrangements that were done by Jonathan Karen?
Yes. So the idea for including these songs came, this is a part of the Iberia program. And I remember one of the very, very early stages of creating this program. I was in my first Zoom meeting with Marina Heredia, the flamenco star. I was starstruck. I was, nervous before this call because I didn't know if she would come to my project. I mean, it was nothing at that point. I was inviting her for, a journey. I wasn't sure how it's going to turn. And we spoke, and there was this language barrier. She spoke Spanish. I responded in Italian. This is how we kind of communicate still with each other. And so, but practically in this call, she presented me all kind of, different folk traditions within flamenco style and songs that she wanted to bring in. And we discussed a little bit about what can it be. And then towards the end, she said, yeah, I know. You're Jewish. I mean, I'm Sephardic. My parents come from Morocco, but it's descendant of the Jewish diaspora in Spain, dated to the middle age. So this is my heritage. This is my kind of part of my heritage is connected to Spain in this way. And she said, yes, I know one Ladino song. I know one Jewish Sephardic song. And said, like, please sing it to me. And right there, she sang me the whole song from beginning to end. And, I was just tearing. It was just so moving to me. And such a connector after all this kind of effort to speak, to understand each other. Suddenly, she sings to me something from my culture, and that was bang. That was the click right there. And I said, like, okay, this has to be in the project, and it grew because we added 4 more tunes that are instrumental. One of the 5 Ladino songs is sang by Marina Heredia, and the other ones were given to Jonathan Keren, who was a brilliant composer, to recompose them, to do what Bartok and Defaya did 100 years ago. But nowadays, these are the tunes, these are the folk melodies. Now do your composition based on that. And that's what he did. So
It's amazing. Speaking of arrangements, can you talk about your collaboration with David Bruce? He did a lot of the arrangements on the.
yes,
How did you meet him, and how did that collaboration work out?
David Bruce is a brilliant composer, one of my favorite contemporary composers. I played, I think, 6 or 7 original pieces by him. He has in his composition this kind of folkloristic element into it. It's nothing official. I don't know if that's how he describes himself, but all his music, and I've recorded also a lot of his music, has a very visual element to me, a very storytelling aspect to it, and very subtly and very artistically referencing to or referring to different kind of folk traditions, fairy tales, all that. I love David Bruce's music. So, and he's a good friend. So early on, I said, like, okay, I have this project, and you have to be part of this. And in fact, he arranged a lot of the music for us from the different programs. And one of them is my favorite track on the album, probably is Virinedda. And this is the Sicilian folk song. It's in Sicilian dialect. I speak Italian fluently. I didn't understand the text on this song. It's not only a Sicilian dialect, it's an old Sicilian dialect. So when he said to write the arrangement, one of the things that we thought is like, okay, people who listen to this song, they will not understand all Sicilian dialect, but they have to understand the story. So your task is to tell the story through music. And it's a love song, so of course there is a broken heart involved, and you really hear the kind of each verse roughly what the scenery is about. You hear crashing waves and the sirens calling from the sea, and the sound of the church at night, and all these wonderful visual colors. I don't want to be very, I want to let the listeners to interpret it, to experience themselves without being so, without pointing what exactly is what. But that's the beauty about the music. And he did many of the brilliant arrangements on this recording also.
Avi, this has just been so great. I'm going to wrap up the conversation by asking what you hope listeners will take away from the record.
The experience. I hope there's a lot of nuances in this album. There are things that are universal. There are things that are so particular, and for us it was an experience of embracing diversity, preserving nuances, but as a connector, not as a separator. We live in an era which, in one hand we have universalism, which is great. We have to share the same values with larger and larger groups of people, because the world we're living in is getting smaller, and we do have to get along with all the people that share it. On the other hand, on that way, there is a risk to lose some of the nuances that makes a culture special. But also there lays a risk of of separating, of dividing. If someone says, "Oh, I speak this dialect and I cook my pasta this way," maybe I don't have to be in the same country with you. And this is, of course, not the good route. So I believe there is a world where, celebrating the diversity can live at the same time with sharing universalism, liberalism, the same good values together. And this is what I hope we put in this album.
Yeah, lovely. Avi, this has just been a real treat to talk to you today. The Song of the Birds album is just fantastic. All the best, and thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me about it. Shalom.
Thank you and shalom. Thank you. Thank you very much.